Welcome to my tutorial about using Imeshh models inside of Lumion. Now, we are just going to be kind of doing this as like a normal walkthrough, but I did really want to show how good I think the Imeshh models are to be used in Lumion. I am just going to quickly run through a few things in Blender about why Imeshh, though they are better, and I will mention it kind of in Lumion part 2. I will put a timestamp below. If you want to skip the Blender part entirely, feel free to do so. There should be a download link below the video where you can just download the base Lumion file where I've gone through and just changed all the materials just to be Lumion material, so that will save a bit of time once we get into the video. But something that I posted about on the forum, and why I was saying that the Imeshh models are so good, is that not only are they extremely well modeled, but just the way that they set up the actual material IDs themselves works much better in Lumion as opposed to something like Polygon. So I think a lot of people have probably tried Polygon models before, and they too are very, very well done. They just don't work that well for Lumion. Reason being is that if you have like a chair from Polygon that has gold legs or something like that, you can't just click on the gold parts and then change it to a different metal, because it's all just one texture map. And then that kind of creates some issues in itself when it does come to, as I mentioned, like changing the materials, making the metal, that kind of stuff. But what Imeshh does is they actually change the material IDs so that every single material has its own ID number basically for Lumion to see. And that means that if you take this chair into Lumion and you just say, okay, I want to change the wood, but I want everything else to stay the same, you just hover over the wood. You change the wood to a Lumion material or your material. And then you just make sure the map scale is set to imported, and then it'll just work. So I will kind of demonstrate that in a moment. The other thing that I kind of like using, not just Imeshh for Blender in general, is if you set a scene like this up, what you can do is you can go File, Export, FBX, and you can go to Copy and then click this button here, the Embedded Textures. And what that'll actually do is that will make a folder that it takes all of the textures from this scene and puts it all into one folder. So you'll have your color map, your normal map, and all that stuff. And it just makes it a little bit easier to get to. There is just one thing that you have to quickly do before that will work. So the Imeshh guys are quite good at material nodes, so they have some pretty complicated ones, but we just need to go in and make it simplified. So example, Imeshh wood 56. You come in here and it looks, well, actually I already fixed this one, but basically there's normally like a whole bunch of nodes here. But if you have it so that or I guess maybe I didn't fix this one. So basically, like, you just come in here and you take this base color and you plug it directly into the principled node. And as you can see, it does look a little bit different, but now this will actually be on the FBX file when you bring that into Lumion. I don't think it works just quite like the Lime exporter. In my opinion, it seemed to work like the exact same way, but yeah, that's just part of the reason why I love using Imeshh. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to hop into the Lumion scene. And as I mentioned, if you are interested in following along with me as I kind of set this scene up, then there is a link below where you can just get the room that I already made. It's already packed up into a Lumion file. And I'm also going to put the textures up there as well. Now, these are all models or textures that you typically have to pay Imeshh for. They're $99 a year for about 600 models and 200 textures currently, which I think is a pretty good deal. But for the purpose of making these tutorials, I actually reached out to them and they said that we could use these models. So that's why I'm able to actually share this one with you. And that way I can just kind of show people how great I really think that the Imeshh models are for Lumion, because buying external models that work well with Lumion is pretty rare. Evermotion is made for 3ds Max, which doesn't work that great with Lumion. And Polygon works in just about every other software no problem, but it doesn't work that great with Lumion. So yeah, this yeah, well, let's get into that Lumion scene though. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load in my scene. So Lumion Imeshh base. And besides the fact that I just went through and clicked on standard for everything, so the maps are going to be all messed up, but we are just going to retexture everything, and we'll kind of work through it that way. We are also going to be loading in like some IES textures from I think it's called IES library. So we'll just find some lights that we think work well for the scene, and then we'll just set a few things up, and it should work no problem. We will just give this a second to load. So I think this is not a super heavy scene. Like it says I'm only using 25% of my VRAM, which is like 11 gigabytes in total. So it's really not too bad. Now, I just want to show quick what I was talking about with how the UV maps work, like how it's unwrapped that works well with Lumion. So let's just texture this couch right off the bat. So if we go to the fabric cloth, and then we're just going to put a Lumion material on this. So one that I think might work well, Evermotion fabric maybe. So I think that looks pretty good. But we're actually going to make it a little bit better, because what we're going to do is we're going to drag... Oh, that one didn't actually work as well as I thought. So yeah, this one works fine. Typically, when you unwrap it like that, everything will kind of just go. But I guess that this material is a little bit too big right when it comes in. But that it works really well for things like wood. So yeah, as you can see though, this does look pretty good. There are some parts of the fabric that don't go the right way, but you can't really tell. So if we just save the changes here and we go into photo mode, as you can see, without even really editing anything, this just has the realistic style on. You really do get a good amount of definition in the fabric. And I find that's really important for creating a realistic looking scene. Just because I find when you can like see the textures in things like fabric, it really just brings out this like special look in it, and that's how you achieve the best looking renders, in my opinion. And you can change this to whatever you really want. That's what's so nice about this. It's everything, as I said, is separated out correctly. So maybe like, no, cashmere, maybe not, but fabric, yeah. So that one's pretty good. I am just going to remove the displacement on it, because I find that doesn't quite work. And yeah, so that is looking quite good. You know, you can turn the relief up if you want, something like that. And then another example is now you can really see that the fabric coming out there. And now we'll just change these pillows here. And there was actually a new one that I really liked. I think that it was, is it carpet? Yeah. So I just used this carpet one. So this is another one that, like, you know, you can, yeah, the fabric just doesn't seem to work with this. Map scale import, it does work for a lot of the other ones, but not for the fabric. But that's okay, because fabric doesn't have to be necessarily going in the right direction. You just have to make sure that it doesn't look like it's kind of like jagged and going in and out. So I think that is a pretty good start just with that there. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to now apply the materials onto this. So as you can see, the color map is already applied, just because it comes in like that when you set it up in that certain way. But I like to actually click on it again, and then I'm going to go and find where I saved my folder. So this is how Blender spits out the textures when you set it up correctly. Everything is kind of organized and together. So I'm just going to grab the normal map, or sorry, the color map, and then I'll grab the normal map after. And this won't look so blue and shiny when it's all done. This obviously has, I just put the standard materials on for now, just so that we can play around with it. And this will just take a little bit of time to kind of, you know, get this to work. I did just try and save us a little bit of time by bringing this in, but obviously it doesn't always play nice. So for the normal map, we now need to apply the Imeshh rug normal and give this another second to load. Unfortunately, in this tutorial, there's probably going to be a fair bit of just kind of waiting for the textures to load. I'm not really sure of a way around this. Maybe if it gets really bad, I'll kind of speed things up. But for now, it should be fine. So I'm going to actually just reduce this down a little bit, And then as you can see, that's looking good, but I'm going to turn, you can turn the relief up or down. That should be good. So if we kind of just go into the rendered mode here. So right off the bat, I'm actually going to change this. I don't really like how it's set that high for the warmth, but I think that that's looking really good so far. Like you're seeing a lot of texture in the sofa, in the pillows, and also in the rug. And yeah, so besides the rug, like all the fabric in the scene so far is just the Lumion materials. So I think that that's awesome because I think that it's really coming out nice here. And then, yeah, so we're just going to keep going through the room and applying stuff. So this one with the gray bowl, we're just going to go to stone. And we're going to put something like this onto it. And then this is one of the ones I was talking about. So as you can see, the map scale is kind of off on this one. And you're getting these weird lines here. But if you go map scale imported, as you can see, all that gets fixed because then it's using the default Blender ones. Yeah, I think that this works for basically all of them except for the fabric, just because fabric is kind of weird like that. So we're just going to go to the bowl trim, and then we're going to go to metal. We're going to make this brass. We'll pull this down to like 0.9, just because I find that in Lumion, having it at 0.9 makes it so that it's still very reflective and it looks like metal, but you don't get this like mirror like reflection. That's something that kind of stands out to me whenever I see renders, and I just really don't like that look. And then what we're going to keep doing is just applying some stuff. So maybe we'll apply a marble to this. Let's see what happens if we go map scale. That doesn't look too bad, but I think I might try and find a marble that's a little bit sharper. So maybe we'll use the polygon one and we'll bring that down to here. And I will just bring the gloss down a little bit, maybe the reflectivity down a little bit because it is kind of strong. And then we'll just keep motoring away, putting on some of the stone here. So I'll do this one for the polygon marble, bring that down. And then as you can see, like the textures line up pretty well when you do use the map scale. So yeah, that's looking pretty good so far. We kind of have a camera set up so we can just keep going back and forth to check that out. The next thing I'm going to do is just the wall texture because I found that that one is kind of standing out to me because it's so shiny right now. Plaster. Now you could use this new Evermotion one. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit too strong in my opinion. So we'll just kind of find one that we like. Maybe this one, but can we turn the displacement in the map scale down? Yeah, maybe something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to find like kind of like a neutral color that looks pretty good. So white and black, maybe something like here. And we'll turn the colorization just to here. How does that look? So that's like pretty good, but I want more texture on the walls, as I was kind of saying. That's sort of the look that I want because it helps it really stand out. So maybe I'll turn the relief up a little bit too. And now, so that is looking a little too strong now, but it is more of the effect that I wanted. So yeah, maybe that the map scale is bigger, we can actually bring the relief down. And I think that's a little bit better. So you are seeing kind of like these imperfections on the walls, but it doesn't look unrealistic. So with the TV screen here, I'm going to make this interior volume glass. Reflectivity is going to be up a little bit. And that's all you should really have to do for that one. This one I will just make, the TV frame, I'm just going to make black, make it glossy. And then I'm just going to copy this one as well and throw this on the back. And then that should look pretty good. There's not too much you really have to do to the TV. We're just going to put a reflection plane on it and it should look good. Just give this a second. Save the changes. So if we go into rendered mode now, it is looking a lot better, but we need to get some reflection on that. So we'll come into reflection, edit reflection planes. We're going to add one, throw that right here. And if we go into normal, then as you can see, that's looking really good. Okay, so we'll hop back out of here. Now we're going to get the hardwood floor in here. And I probably should have mentioned this while in Blender, but what I actually do when I'm bringing a scene in is these are actually individually modeled floor planks that have a small gap in them, because I find that that really helps Lumion bring out just the definition in the wood. As I've mentioned in a couple other videos, Lumion is a lot more powerful if you actually model the like geometry. So if it's like wood planks, wood siding, it looks a lot better. Or you can take it a step further and actually use mesh displacement. That's another video that I can link below. But that's how I think Lumion does look the best. That's why with this rug it looks good, because at Imeshh they actually modeled in all of these creases. It's not a like normal map effect, so it looks really good. Now this one, you may notice that if you look at this color map, it's not actually planked wood because I let the physical gaps do all that work. So what you can do is you can either bring in this Imeshh model, and the wood should be right here. Gives a second to load. Okay. Yeah, so you could do this and then you just kind of adjust the gloss and stuff like that. But I do find it just, I don't know, it just seems to work better when you bring in the color map. I'm not entirely sure why. Just seems like it has a better resolution. So I don't know if that's something that's scaled down during like the import, but yeah. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Maybe bring the reflectivity down and the relief up a bit, because with this one, this is kind of like a vinyl flooring. It's not going to be extremely reflective. So I think that that's really good right there. And yeah, you can really see how defined those gaps in the wood are. So we'll just keep plugging along here. This picture frame, all we really need to do is make it a wood texture. So something like this would be fine. And then I'm going to turn up the colorization all the way up. And then we could even do something like weathering wood. And I think if you go something like this, yeah, so where we're going to get like this chipped wood look, which is how it originally was in Imeshh. So that's good. Maybe we'll actually turn this up a little bit more. Something like that. So yeah, that's looking good. We can change the glass as well. So this is just going to be kind of standard Lumion glass, interior glass. And then what I like to do is turn the reflectivity up a little bit, just because I find that helps it make it look a little more like realistic glass. And then we will just throw a reflection plane on this as well. And yeah, and the reason why I did that is you can see right here. So there's the shadow of the couch. You can kind of see the shadow of the chair over there. It might be hard to see on the stream or the video, sorry. Now for this one, we are going to grab this and we're going to put in the original texture again, because as I mentioned, it just seems to work better. I don't know what the reasoning behind that is. Even when we change out the normal map, it just, in all my tests, I was just getting a much nicer look with this. So we'll put that on. Now with this one, I do want to make it a little bit darker, because in the original Imeshh model, they had a hue and saturation node on in Blender, which just helps kind of alter the color. But I had to remove that just for bringing it into Lumion. So I just bring it to maybe like 0.3, because that's going to make the wood darker, as you can see, but it's not, you're not really losing all that color. And you can just use the saturation if you kind of wanted to as well. I just find that I have, I guess, I just like the effect more when you just like mix black in to darken it. And I am just going to bring the gloss and the reflectivity down. You can make gloss masks inside of Photoshop, but I find that it's not always necessary. If we're just going for something quick like this, you can get great results without kind of spending that extra time. But if it's something like almost like a swamp, and there's very high contrast between like dirt and water for things that are shiny and not shiny, then making a gloss mask is definitely a good idea. And for these, the black painted wood on this, we're just gonna drag the gloss down, drag the reflectivity down, and I think that that should be good there. Yeah, so that's looking really nice. Next, we're gonna fix this credenza here. For this polar bear, all you really have to do is turn this down. I've already made it a material. It's not big enough to really bother going and changing the normal map and everything. Like this will do. You can kind of play with the relief if you want. Doesn't seem like it's doing too much. Because, oh, this I know why. This is actually a it's just because it's it was a null normal map. So yeah, now if you change this, it might be hard to see, but you should be able to get some definition. Yeah, so we'll just turn that up. Maybe turn the gloss and reflectivity up a little bit. And now for this wood, it's the same deal. You could use one of the polygon ones. So let me just find one. Maybe we'll do like outdoor, because I know that there's one I was thinking of. So maybe wood. Yeah, so just as a quick example, like I'm not going to use this texture, but you kind of get the point when I do this. If you take the map scale, right now this is kind of going all over the place. It doesn't look right, but if you go map scale to here, then the wood is like, it is actually matching how Imeshh made it to work, except what we're just going to have to do is change the pitch maybe, or the bank. Okay, so never mind. We can't do that right off the bat. But basically, the two examples of the map scale was kind of messed up when I did it. But yeah, what I would recommend you do is just like, normally it kind of has that on. Sometimes it can just be a little bit strange, because if you see like this wood texture is going left to right, whereas, or maybe this didn't actually even come in. This one is going up and down though, so we'll just reuse what we used on the hardwood floor, because we're just going to alter this color anyways. Give this a second. What we're going to be doing after we get the TV stand set up too, there's not too much left. We are just going to bring in like a plant, some fine nature, maybe use one of the new ferns, and then we can pretty much get into just lighting the scene and things like that. Yeah, it's the waiting room again, unfortunately. Okay, so with this one, I'm going to change the map scale kind of back to normal, and I'm going to bring the gloss and reflectivity down. And then, yeah, so if you don't really like that effect, obviously you can change it, but I think that that's kind of good enough for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this on top, and I'm going to make these ones darker, just to give it like some, I guess, like sort of like a style to it, like something like that. So that's good. And what I love about this is that you, like with the Imeshh wood textures, which is like where this comes from, you do actually get like some nice details in the wood. Yeah, I find it looks great. So we are going to fix this little pot up now. We'll go to that. That should be fine. I'm going to bring the gloss up, but the reflectivity down a little bit. And then, yeah, the relief can be there. You could put a little bit of weathering on this, just like, as you can see, because that'll just help the kind of like the crevices have a little more shadow to them. It might look a little bit better. And then this one, just because it's so far back, we don't even need to bother with a normal map. We'll just turn the reflectivity down so it doesn't look weird. And then that's good. And we'll put in a fine nature now. So fine detail nature. We'll go to plants. And one of these ferns would work really well, but you can use whatever you want. So, you know, if you want to put something like that and scale it down, you can. I think that one looks pretty good though. So maybe I'll scale this up a little bit because I want it to take up a lot of room here. I'm just going to make sure that it's not going through the glass. Yeah, so it is a little bit. So I'm just going to rotate this one like, that's the best way of doing this. I think it's good. No, it is a little bit out. So I think that's good enough. Yeah. You really can't tell if it's going through the glass, but I find that it just helps if it's a little more realistic, and you try to just make it as best you can. And I kind of like the way that the plant hangs over into the normal part of the room. And yeah, so we're kind of wrapping it up here. This is just like a little metal glass. You can make this whatever you want, but I am just going to put maybe some interior, no, not interior volume, just the regular interior glass I'm going to bring the reflectivity up to like 0.1, just so that it stands out a little bit more. And it's just easier to see it. So internal reflections up, maybe the reflectivity even more. And I think that should be pretty good. If we go back here, yeah, because it's just going to be poking out from behind the TV. So it's something that if someone kind of sees that, they're like, they'll think there's a little jar there, but it's not obviously a focal point at all. So we don't have to worry about it too much. And then we'll just make these candles like whatever color you want. This part really doesn't matter. I am just going to turn the gloss and reflectivity down, and then I'm going to turn up the waxiness, just so it kind of has some light going through it. And there is actually a couple more things that I'm going to make waxy as well. So typically something that I like doing is I actually change the fabric typically to waxy. So I'll go the fabric and the cloth here, or fabric cloth, sorry. I'm just going to bring this up, and let me just make sure this is set on 4. Okay. So you can't see it too much, but if you look at like this part right here, as the waxiness goes up, you can kind of see it lights it up a little bit. So I like to pull it so it's just literally sitting here. And then for the fabric cloth, we'll do the same thing. I find it helps like get rid of some almost this like shine it has. It just lets some light in. These are metal legs, so we can turn this up and bring that up a little bit. And everything is looking pretty good so far. We do have to change the roof though, and we also have to change the molding, and I think that's it for texturing. So we'll bring the gloss down, and I'm actually just gonna put a plaster on this. So we'll put like this, but then we'll just blow it out with white. Maybe make this a little bit darker actually. And I'll bring this down because we're not really going to see this. I just want to, yeah. All right. So I think the molding is the last thing we have to do before we do the lighting. And these are a little bit too waxy. You shouldn't be able to see that much through them. So I'm going to bring that back down. It's like if it's off, obviously it does nothing. But the second that you increase it at all, you can kind of see like the little flicker there. So yeah, this is actually, this does have a value, so it's 0.0032. You kind of get the point of how little I actually try and put on it. I find that just helps lift it up a little bit. And yeah, we'll just, for the molding here, all you're going to do is go down, we're going to find white. Keep clicking on this RAL, I keep messing it up. So colorization, gloss, reflectivity down. We could just put a wood texture on that, but I think that's fine for this. So if we grab the preset camera here, we can kind of start setting up the scene. So for this, the real skies, I might do something that's a little more, like not as harsh. So that's a little too morning, I guess, overcast. These can give really nice effects if you kind of like, you find the right angle and you turn them up sort of like that. It can give a nice effect. It just sort of depends on what you want. For this one, I think I'm probably going to go with like a clear. I think that looks good. It definitely is bright, but we're going to fix that up a little bit just so the sun isn't as harsh. But I did kind of go for having like a really, like a lot of sunlight in this scene. So what we can do is we can open up the internet here. I'm going to type in IES library, and that's going to let us find some lights that we can just bring right into Lumion. I did go over this in a previous video if anyone's interested. So yeah, if you don't really know what this is, I can leave a link to this website below. It's just a free place that you can get IES profiles, which just tell Lumion how the light should be interacting with the scene. So I think I want to have something that's kind of like a full, yeah, something like this, like kind of, there's no harsh lines really, kind of just is smooth. So we'll download the IES. I will go to where I saved my folder here. So these are just some example scenes I was doing. I will just lower this and I'll drag that in so that we have the IES profile right there. And then we're just going to go and we're going to place some lights in the scene. So you can just drop like this one in if you want. Load the IES profile. Bring this one in. And it doesn't change it too much, but this does match it. And what I also do is I like to bring the cone up just because then you get the most effect out of the IES. So we're going to move this one out a little bit, maybe back a bit, and then I'm just going to drag this over. This part doesn't have to be perfect. Just try and make sure that they line up on the wall as best you can. And then I'm going to look up. I'm going to control click the other one so that I have them both, and then I'm going to hold Alt and move them back. And now they're all going to be linked. Or now that they're all going to be copied, I mean. So something I always do in my scenes, though, is that Lumion's brightness is set to 300, which in my opinion is a ridiculously high number. I normally put it down somewhere like in like 12, because as you can see, you can still clearly see these spotlights, but 300 is just so bright that it just destroys the rest of the scene. And so I think even having something like 14 should be good. And yeah, at 14, like you can still clearly see the spotlights there. Now what we can do is I might actually bring these a little bit closer to the window just so that it's not as sharp, or I guess that the shadows aren't as bad in the corners. So I guess that didn't really help too much. I'll probably just put some Hyperlight on that then. And this might even be too bright still. So you can tell that it really, makes the scene, or makes the shadows kind of go away quickly with that. So I am just going to come up here and maybe make them even a little bit darker. So put that at 8. And that's looking a little bit better because, like I said, I don't want to lose all the shadows. Like I still want there to be a lot in it. But we'll let the shadow, effects kind of deal with the rest of that. Now, what I normally do is I actually put on sharp, but then I turn the sun range up because it makes the shadows softer. And I find you just get more of a realistic look with the shadows here. And I think you are just seeing a little kind of blip here in the shadows. I'm not sure why that is. It might just have like a weird back face to it. And looking at this, I am actually going to change the wood on this a little bit just to be darker. So if I bring that up a little more, let's see how that looks now. I think that looks a lot better. So yeah, what we can do then is we can just kind of keep playing around with our shadows. So I'm actually going to bring the brightness maybe up a little bit just to get the top there. But then I'm going to turn Omni Shadow up just so that we're getting a little more detail there. And I'm just going to go outside here and fix this. So this doesn't look bad, but this background, it doesn't, oh, I guess I actually did put the emissive on. So I want to make that a little bit brighter because it looked like it was too dark to how strong our light was. So I'm just going to bring this up a little bit so that it's like here. And we're going to go photo back in here. I might lift this up a little bit and I'll save this. I might move this in a touch. So I think that this is looking good. We're just going to add some more effects in here now. So Skylight, since we're not doing an animation, so I'm going to put that on ultra, brightness all the way up. Okay, so that you're going to see like almost like this blue tint here. So I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit more and we'll see if that still looks good. Okay, Sharpen, we're going to bring that up to like 0.5 just to get a little more detail, especially in the fabric. I'm going to add in Print Poster Enhancer. This just helps kind of clean up your scene. I find like some of like the lines that may have like a weird effect. This will help clear that up. And so the color correction is looking good. Maybe I'll bring the brightness down a little bit. I might bring the limit low up a tiny bit because as you can see, it kind of helps with that. The contrast as well. So contrast I find can really add a lot to the scene, but we don't want to overdo it. And if we bring this up a little bit. So looking at kind of how I just changed the effect stacks, I think this looks a lot better, but I do think I need to bring the shadows up again. And so as you're kind of going through this, I would just kind of keep going back and forth. Like you may need to adjust some of your effects, but I find that it's not too bad. So bring the brightness up a little bit here, but I still want to get maybe a little bit more light on this here. So maybe I'll turn up Hyperlight a bit, see if that helps. Not quite. So I'm just going to actually put in another set of lamps back here. And I'll go to Home, Spotlights. I'll grab these and maybe bring that back again. And so that is a little bit better because we're getting more light right here. It definitely is still dark. So maybe I will just kind of make the wood a little bit lighter than it was before again. And sometimes this is what you got to do. Like you just go through and you say, okay, well, this is the next thing to change. Okay, and yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. It is still a little bit reddish, but I think that that's fine. So yeah, I think we can just add in a couple more little materials from the Lumion library. Indoor, we're going to place, let's say plant, see if anything comes up. So maybe even just something like that. We'll throw that there. And this is looking good, but I do think it's still too warm. So I'm just going to put it at 0. And that's looking pretty good. Maybe the focal length will come back out a little bit. And yeah, if you were kind of looking into being even more detailed, you could put some pot lights up here. I'm not going to bother doing that right now. I think that is, it's not too bad. I think with the new IES imports that you can bring in, this looks a lot better on the walls because you can kind of just pick exactly what you need the light to look like, and then you just adjust the brightness. This texture isn't looking correct though. I actually didn't change this one. So with this, I don't want this to be too reflective, so this is just going to come right down, but that's all we should really have to do with it. And then this, I guess I'll just pull that down, but that's fine. And yeah, so that's I tried to do this kind of as quick as possible. There were some things I probably could have spent more time on just to get better quality. But I was really happy with how this came out overall. As you can see, like the Imeshh models work fantastically in Lumion. Just the fact that you can go in, import these materials or import these models, sorry. And then as you can see, everything is separated out just in a fantastic way. Like, especially like, I just love this. Like before you'd have to kind of manually do this yourself, because I really had found no models that worked well with Lumion. And that's one of the first things I really set out to kind of do in Lumion, is figure out how to bring in all of these like great models. So the fact that these are all kind of ready to go is really, really good. And yeah, so that should be about it. I guess maybe we could throw in like one little plant here just to give it like a nice effect. And you could put like a little, end table here, something like that. But I think that that's good enough. So yeah, I really hope that you guys found this tutorial interesting. I'm hoping that I can do some more like this in the future. If you are interested in looking at Imeshh, I do have a link below. And I really recommend you check it out because they have some really nice sort of like modern industrial styled models. And I think that they can really, really help bring some more realism to your scene. Their subscription is $99 a month, or sorry, not a month. It's $99 for a year subscription. But you get 600 models and you can download them all whenever you want. I think that there is a download limit of 3 on each model. So you could download like one particular chair 3 times. But I think that that's based more on the fact that downloading is just kind of hard on their server, I guess, if like people are trying to download the whole library, which is like 100 gigabytes all at once. But yeah, so 600 models, 200 great textures like on the wood floor. It's a pretty good deal. Like I think that it is really, really good. And I actually reached out to them about making this tutorial, and I was like, look, people that use Lumion don't have a ton of options when it comes to actually getting models to import into Lumion. You kind of are stuck with the Lumion library or learning how to convert things from like Evermotion or Polygon yourself. So I just kind of told them about that, and they're like, hey, yeah, you guys can definitely use some of these models. So I just sent them a little test room, and they packaged all that up. So if you'd like to see kind of how I did that in not only Lumion but also Blender, there will be a link below the video. I'm not sure if that one's going to come out before this video, but if you're watching this like a day after this video is released, then both of them should be out. And that goes a little more in depth about why they're so great. But yeah, I really recommend checking out the website if you are looking for models that are well done. So yeah, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Help me out with the YouTube algorithm. If you are subscribed, thank you very much for checking out another video. Hopefully I have some really interesting ones coming out this week, and I hope to see you there. Until then, have a good one, guys. Bye.